You know what? Let's get Brian Dutcher in on the conversation, the head coach of the Aztecs. We got all kinds of stuff with it's a whole new world for NCAA basketball. But while we're sitting here talking about this, Coach, thanks for coming on. So John has this idea. Why didn't they put the Raptors against the Spurs on Christmas Day? I don't know. I mean, Kawhi Leonard's not going to get in Greg Popovich's face, is he? What would that have actually looked like?
No, this is a LeBron James-driven league, so we got to have LeBron on at Christmas.
Of course.
Yeah. I mean, the stars must play. What matchup in the NBA are you most looking forward to this season? I mean, there are a couple of rivalries. Kawhi might be involved in one. Is it all LeBron for you, like everyone else?
It's really the Golden State Warriors and everybody else.
Yeah.
We have the individuals we want to see in the matchups, and I guess it's interesting to see with Kawhi going to the East, LeBron leaving it, who will be the team to come out of the East. I think that's pretty intriguing. But until somebody puts up a fight against Golden State, in the end, they're all stories leading into Golden State winning another title, most likely.
All right, Dutch. So as of this year, a player can go through the draft, and if they don't get picked, you can come right back. Are you ready for your whole team to go through the draft process now? Because I can't figure out why they wouldn't all go.
Well, they all think they're first-round picks, so they might as well try.
Right. Are you okay with this?
Yeah, I think it's a great rule. You guess. There's too much guessing. If you want to put your name in, explore your options. I think the thing is that the way I read it, it sounds like you have to be invited to the draft combine in order to stay in the draft. I'm not sure if that's correct or not. But I think when you go that far, you might as well stay in instead of guessing, would I have been picked, would I not been picked. If you're not picked, you can go back to college.
Got to ask you about this top 25 quote-unquote elite players, both out of college basketball and high school, will be allowed to have agents. How's that going to affect recruiting at the high school level, and how's that going to affect coaching a player with an agent at the college level?
They don't get the agent until the college season ends, so they don't maintain them through the season. The way I read it is they can sign with an agent. I don't think they're paid for that agent. It's just someone to represent them through the process to explore the draft. And then if they go back to college a year from now, I guess they could sign with another agent to explore the process. So I don't think it's an agent that represents them during the college or high school year. It's just helping them through the draft process.
Brian Dutcher's with us. Coach, I have to admit, one of the first things I thought when I read at least the headlines on this is, man, I wonder what Jalen McDaniels thinks of all this, because if he was so close to not knowing what to do just a couple of months ago, boy, it would have been nice if this rule were there so he could have just gone all the way through. Have you talked to him at all? Do you think that this is going to upset him at all?
No, I don't think it'll upset him. I think, he worked out for 10 NBA teams, and then he had another 10 come to an individual workout. So I think he got the feedback. The feedback was they didn't feel he was going to be a first-round pick, and that would be the only reason he would go. And so unless there was some miracle on draft day where someone was hiding in order to take him, I think he had the feedback he needed and made the good decision. Obviously, if you go that far in the process, I think it's a good thing to stay till the end. There's going to be no players left at that point anyway. If we were to lose them, 2 weeks is not going to make a huge difference. We're not going to run out and find a great piece that late in the process.
Answer me this. Maybe I'm overreacting to this, but everything that happened leading into the NCAA season with college basketball and now these rules changing, I'm close to putting college basketball on the endangered species list. It feels like now there's some competing thoughts about other upstart leagues stealing away players, or even the G League gaining in popularity. Where are you at with this? Do you think college basketball is in a healthy spot?
I think so. I think we're inching closer to maybe the baseball and hockey model, where these kids look out of high school. They determine if they're good enough, if they want to just spend time in the minor leagues, which is the G League, in order to make the big club, or if they feel like an education's important, they want to go the college route. So I think we're inching closer to the baseball model, which is, I think, a good thing.
Dutch, when I see this headline, elite players can now have agents, it sounds like you predictably have gone a little deeper into this than we have. What does that mean? And who gets to decide before we've even seen careers play out who's elite and who's not elite?
I think it'll probably rest in the hands of USA Basketball and the NBA. You know, people that are most interested in drafting these kids are looking at their futures, someone independent like that, and they'll probably, I don't know what that number will be. Is it 25 kids? In the end, when high school kids could go into the draft, there weren't that many taken. And we can all look at the Kobe's and the LeBrons and who am I missing here? Garnett,
right? Sure.
So those guys are elite and they made it, but there aren't a lot of them, and so I think right now it's spectacular news. But when it all comes down to it, the NBA is about winning games, and unless they can set the G League up like a developmental deal where they want to invest more money in it, where these kids can make a living as they develop for the NBA, then I think the model's not going to change that much.
Coach, I might be talking about a small group of people here, but it feels unfair to me that USA Basketball or NBA execs are going to go, yeah, that one's elite. Oh, no, that guy over there, he's not elite. Except for we've got examples in sports all the time of executives missing on guys. Draymond Green went in the second round. So why not just make agents available to all if the agents want them?
Yeah, I know, absolutely. Well, we could be heading that direction. I mean, this is the preliminary recommendation. This is what we're going with now. But I think if you read through it, they say they're open to further discussion, further thoughts as to based on what the NBA decides to do, because the NBA is going to do what they want to do. They're not going to have what they do dictated by college basketball. So whether they want to take kids out of high school again is an NBA decision, not a college decision, NCAA decision.
Does your heart go out to some of these young athletes and even parents of young athletes? Because as this thing goes on and continues, we understand that the line of professionalism gets pushed deeper and deeper into childhood. I mean, there's some 12-year-olds who have agents or shoe companies or college basketball coaches taking interest in their family. And it's an oddity in our culture. Do you have any thoughts on that at all, as far as just kind of like the absurdity of being in eighth grade, but potentially having grown men vying for your attention or potentially your professionalism later in your life?
Absolutely. I mean, kids are getting promoted at an earlier age. They're getting recognized at an earlier age, and that's all social media, and anybody can post a highlight of their kid online on YouTube, and if you get enough likes and then you draw interest, and then sometimes those highlights don't tell the true story, but everybody has a forum to put themselves out there now. It's instant, it happens immediately, and things move faster in the world than they used to.
Brian Dutcher's with us. Coach, I also think there is a hole in this, isn't there? This whole idea of, hey, just apply for the draft, and if you don't get picked, you can come back. You sort of said this a minute ago with Jalen McDaniels, though. Nobody wants to be a second-round pick because then there's no guarantee, yet the team has your rights. So what do you see as far as how you'll give advice to players who want to be first-round picks, but if they're not first-round picks, they'd rather not get picked at all?
Well, those guys are going to have to make a decision that they're going to withdraw from the draft if they don't feel they're going to be a first-round pick, if they're going to be a late second. And obviously anybody that goes in the second round is very few of those guys make the club right away. They're destined to spend time in the G League. And then it's, do I want to play in the G League with 30-year-old men that are fighting their last lives to get into the NBA? The G League is no easy route. It's tough travel. It's tough competition, and they'll eat you alive there. And so you have to be ready for that if you want to take that route. So there's a lot of choices, and obviously there's going to be some successes and there's going to be some failures along the way as this new model kicks into effect. But we will learn from those and hopefully advise our kids wisely as to what we think the best route for they and their families are.
Gosh, new models. I mean, every year it's almost like a car company. It feels like the rules are shifting a little bit. How do you keep up with this, Coach? I mean, if I was a basketball coach, especially with as much focus being applied to college hoops right now, I'd be so nervous that I'd fail to be compliant in some way and not even know I was like, how much reading are you doing all these rules? And do you have officers kind of overwatching so there's no missteps taken by you or any of your coaching staff? How do you kind of negotiate this landscape?
I mean, I think the rules we saw broken were pretty obvious to everyone that they were illegal and shouldn't be done. We are in complete compliance. We know the rules. We know what we can do and can't do. Now, is there an occasional minor violation that happens when someone does something unknowingly? That can happen. That gets into the depth of the rule book. But the major rules, the major infractions that are being committed are pretty crystal clear, and that's why these changes have occurred, that these were happening way too often in certain programs, and that's why the NCAA has sought change.
Dutch, great to have you today on a big day with a lot going on. Great to have your perspective. Thank you so much.
I appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Okay, there he goes, Brian Dutcher on the Mark and Rich Show.